Hi, welcome to Animation Recap Center. Today, we will recap the story of a 2018 amazing science fiction film called Bumblebee. So, without any further ado, let's start with the recap. The movie begins on a planet named Cybertron, far from Earth, where the Autobots are in a battle against the Decepticons. Decepticon robots want to establish their unjust rule on this planet by eliminating all Autobots. The Autobots realize they can't win, so their leader, Optimus Prime, orders a robot named B127 to go to Earth and establish a base for them because Earth is the most secret and safe place ever found. The rest of the Autobots will look for allies on other galaxies and then join B127 on Earth. B127 leaves Cybertron and travels to Earth. On Earth, a group of soldiers was training, whose commander was Jack. When Jack was talking about training the team members, a strange object crashes down, causing an explosion. Commander Jack calls for help and he is surprised to see such a giant robot. After a while, B-127 sees the approaching military vehicles and runs away. The military pursues B-127, which transforms into a jeep to escape. After a chase, B-127 is surrounded by soldiers and his systems get damaged. B-127 tries to explain that he means no harm, but is interrupted by a fighter plane that bombs the area. In fact, this plane was one of the Decepticon robots from another planet. This Decepticon then appears and attacks B-127, wanting to know the Autobot's location. Despite being injured, B-127 refuses to reveal the information and fights back, destroying the Decepticon. However, his memory is damaged, and he ends up at a beach. Just before shutting down, B-127 spots a beetle and transforms into it. All the soldiers were injured, so they could not notice anything. Cut to Charlie, a 17-year-old girl who is still mourning her father's death, asks her mother for some money to fix her car as she has an affection towards cars. But her mother, Sally, says she doesn't have that much money. Then her stepfather, named Ron, tells her about a job interview the next day. Then, her mother asks Charlie to take her brother to karate on his bike. After doing that, Charlie goes to work as a waitress at the amusement park. While carrying drinks, she accidentally spills them on a boy named Trip, who Charlie has a crush on. She feels extremely embarrassed, and now it seems like her crush has turned into a crushed drink situation. However, after work she visits her Uncle Hank's workshop to find used car parts. While searching, she discovers an old Yellow Beetle and tries to start it. Just when she starts it, the vehicle starts transmitting a signal that reaches one of his companions named Cliff Jumper, who is being attacked by Decepticons. Shatter, one of the Decepticons, detects the signal and plans to find the 127 to locate Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. Cliff Jumper refuses to give away the leader's location, and is brutally killed with his body cut in half. Back to Charlie, she selects some parts, pays her uncle, and goes home. She spends hours trying to fix her car but fails. The next morning, Charlie makes up her mind to keep the Yellow Beetle and offers to work in her uncle's workshop for a year to earn the car. However, Hank surprises her by giving her the car as a birthday present. Charlie gets the Beetle running after working on it, and drives it to her garage. Later, she realizes something is wrong with the car and starts to investigate. All of a sudden, to her surprise, B-127 transforms into a robot, and tries to hide, fearing her. Charlie realizes the robot is harmless. Just then, her mother enters the garage, and the robot instantly transforms back into a car. When her mother leaves, Charlie tries to communicate with the robot and gains its trust. She names him Bumblebee since he can't remember his own name. On the other side of the United States, a couple is having a serious conversation about their relationship when they notice an asteroid heading their way. Roy, desperate to protect his car, jumps in front of it, but luckily it hits a passing truck instead, leaving the couple unharmed. Amber is disappointed with Roy's behavior, but before they can discuss further, another asteroid appears and directly hits their vehicle. In the midst of the chaos, two cars transform into dangerous machines, the Decepticons. Dropkick eliminates Roy, and the Decepticons start searching for B-127. The next morning, Charlie wakes up and realizes that Bumblebee is missing from the garage. She learns that her mother took the car to the vet with the family dog. Charlie rushes on her bike to meet them, ignoring her new neighbor Memo's attempts to start a conversation. When Charlie arrives, Bumblebee starts waving at her and Conan, the dog, starts barking. Worried that her mother will discover Bumblebee's true nature, Charlie speeds up and asks her mother to stop the car. She offers to take the dog to the vet instead. Later, Charlie takes Bumblebee to the beach to teach him how to hide. She instructs him to transform into an ordinary car whenever there are other people around. Meanwhile, the army becomes aware of the presence of new aliens and decides to go after them. Dr. Powell is excited about the possibility of making contact with an alien species. The soldiers target the robots, and Jack asks the reason for their visit. Shadow reveals that a dangerous criminal from Cybertron is hiding on Earth, putting their species at risk. Jack refuses to help, but Dr. Powell invites the aliens to follow them to talk to their superiors. During a walk in the woods, Charlie offers to fix Bumblebee's voice system and accidentally triggers a message from Optimus Prime. Bumblebee remembers some of his past before the message disappears. Charlie tries to ask him questions, but he can't answer. They attempt to use the radio to communicate, but it's broken. Bumblebee plays an old tape of Charlie's last competition, which annoys her, but she understands it wasn't intentional. Charlie fixes the radio and Bumblebee is excited. While listening to music, Charlie reminisces about her father and her last diving competition. Since her father left that day, she has avoided swimming. Fixing the Corvette is important to her to honor his memory. Memo, passing by and hearing the music, enters the garage and is shocked to see Bumblebee. Charlie calms him down, makes him promise not to tell anyone, and introduces him to Bumblebee. The next morning, the trio goes for a ride. Meanwhile, Dr. Powell convinces the military leaders to help the aliens find their fugitive. Despite Agent Jack's objections, the army grants the Decepticons access to their satellites. On the other side, while driving through the city, Bumblebee uses music from different radio stations to communicate. On the way home, they are chased by the police for speeding, and Bumblebee speeds up even more. When the vehicle catches up with him, the robot lays down the vehicle seats so that the youngsters cannot be seen. The policeman then believes that there is no driver inside the car and makes a call for backup. The chase continues, but Bumblebee manages to turn around and drives off in front of the vehicle, which prevents him from being chased any further. Upon arriving home, the two young ones say goodbye and Charlie wishes her car a good night before going to bed. The other day, she goes to visit the vehicle before work and asks Bumblebee to remain quietly in the garage until she returns. A few hours later, their dog goes for a walk in the garage, and upon realizing that the car has turned into a giant robot, the dog runs back to the house. Bumblebee decides to follow him and knocks down the door to get through. When he enters the living room of the house, disaster sets in for wherever he goes. He leaves a wave of destruction. Meanwhile, the military detects a call from a police officer talking about a driverless vehicle and makes its way to Brighton Falls along with the Decepticons. Memo is leaving home when he hears loud noises and calls Charlie, who immediately rushes home. When she gets there, the young woman has the terrible surprise that her entire home has been destroyed. Ashamed of what he has done, Bumblebee hides behind the couch, but the girl asks him to go back to the garage until she thinks of what to do. While the girl is trying to save as many things as possible, her mother shows up and says she is tired of her behavior. Sally says that because of Charlie, that family can't be happy. Upon hearing this, the young woman is disappointed and says that in a few months, they will no longer have to put up with her. Distraught by everything that has happened in her life, the girl drives off aimlessly with Bumblebee and Memo. However, when they reach a certain point on the road, they encounter a large group of armed military personnel and are ordered to get out of the vehicle. In doing so, the two young ones are captured and Bumblebee does not think twice before taking action. After catching Charlie, the robot escapes and is pursued by the feds. But it isn't long before both are bombed by the Decepticons. Since he has lost his memory, the robot does not understand why this is happening and gets beaten up while being questioned about the whereabouts of Optimus Prime. The soldiers then use a stun gun to paralyze the creature, and in trying to help him, Charlie is also electrocuted. When she wakes up, the young girl is already home, and Jack is in the living room explaining what happened to Sally. The girl tries to explain herself, but her mother doesn't listen to what she has to say. Charlie decides to ask Memo for help. At that moment, Otis catches his sister in the act, but she manages to convince him to stay home to prevent his mother from finding out that she has run away. As the young woman pilots to the place where she believes Bumblebee is, the robot is being brutally attacked to reveal the location of the other Autobots, but he remembers absolutely nothing about his past. Upon overhearing the Decepticons' conversation, Dr. Powell realizes that it was a bad idea to help them since they planned to destroy the Earth. The scientist tries to inform Jack of this in time, but the Decepticons kill him before he can finish his word. While cleaning up all the mess in her house, Sally decides to go see where her daughter is, and although Otis tries to stop her, the woman discovers that Charlie has gone out. So, she forces the young boy to tell her where she has gone. Shatter and Dropkick plan to call in reinforcements from their planet, and after eliminating Bumblebee, they go to the nearest tower to convey their message. As soon as the creatures leave, Charlie runs toward his friend and uses the stun guns to try to revive him. After being shot at a few times, the robot fortunately manages to get up and has his memory restored. Minutes later, Jack arrives on the scene with his soldiers and blows up the gate. Besides Bumblebee, Charlie and Memo are also hit. The commander orders his men to get the youngsters out and destroy the alien. The Autobot was about to surrender until he sees Charlie being hurt, and his rage causes him to attack Jack. controlled by hatred. The machine attacks everyone around it until the moment it hears the voice of its best friend and manages to control itself. Memo has a broken arm, and the girl says that they need to escape, but Bumblebee decides to go after the Decepticons to destroy them, because if this doesn't happen it will be the end of the Autobots. Charlie accompanies him and Memo decides to stay to distract the incoming military, but he clearly does not succeed in his mission. During the escape, Charlie is surprised to see that her entire family has gone to help her. The girl asks her mother to trust her and Ron decides to use his own car as a shield to prevent the military from approaching the young woman. In the transmission tower, the Decepticons are already preparing the message that will be sent to their team members. Bumblebee then asks Charlie to stay hidden inside the dumpster so that she is not in danger and attacks the facility, so that the creatures have no way of maintaining a connection to the planet Cybertron. In an attempt to stop him, Dropkick attacks him violently, and one of the shots ends up hitting the can where Charlie is hiding. The girl is then forced to look for another hiding place while she thinks of a way to help her friend. After coming up with a plan, she runs across the battlefield to reach the staircase and starts climbing the tower. Bumblebee is still in the battle against his enemy when Agent Jack appears and attacks Shatter. With the aid of a chain, the Autobot is able to eliminate its opponent, causing its robotic body to explode. While trying to bomb Shatter, Jack's helicopter is hit, and he was about to crash when Bumblebee holds the aircraft in midair and helps it land. When he realizes that Charlie plans to destroy the tower's power source, Shatter tries to eliminate it, but is shot out of the cannon by his enemy and forced to fight back. The girl manages to destroy the power source and the transmission, but Bumblebee is about to be eliminated in battle. The robot then decides to take a gamble and destroys the water dam to make sure that since he will die, he will at least save the planet from the hands of that Decepticon. Bumblebee's body sinks into the water, and to save her friend, Charlie overcomes her greatest fear. The young woman dives in after him and manages to wake him up. Minutes later, the two are back on the surface and encounter Agent Jack, in gratitude for being saved by Bumblebee. The man directs the pair to flee before the other soldiers show up. The next day, after this great battle, Charlie takes her friend to the Golden Gate Bridge so that they can say goodbye. From now on, each of them has his own mission to fulfill. Looking over the bridge, Bumblebee spots a Camaro and assumes the same form as that vehicle. Now he can continue his journey without the military being able to identify him. When she is finally able to return home, Charlie is happy to see her family and Memo is also there waiting for her. In the following weeks, the young woman finally manages to get her father's Corvette again and can fulfill her dream of going out on the road driving her car. The end. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.